Hey, happy
We
Wine
are.
Day. Cheers.
Cheers. I think there you go. Have you on mute? Am I on mute still, or I'm good?
You were for like a
Eh,
second, just for effect, Just
There you go. Just make sure that I'm not saying anything stupid. So there you go. Happy Wine Wednesday, Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club member, all of you guys across the country. This is a Naramata Bench special tonight. That is really exciting. And
wait, wait.
I'm wearing my new glasses here, and the glare in this side is just drive me bonkers. Anyway,
Okay.
thanks for
Well, let
listening.
me show them what we mean by Naramata Bench because you were there like yesterday, the day before.
Yes,
Look
yes,
at this beauty. This is the view from the winery that we're featuring this week, Moraine.
yes, and right, like okay, like put it back on, put it back on. Let's start with the bang. Okay, down below here, right down the middle. Because I think that what we have there, it's Gewürztraminer, if I'm not mistaken. But down below, there's a very, very, very sought after plot of land. It's the Syrah vineyard.
Ooh.
So, there's a cool story about that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. But yeah.
Other than their winemaker, who very last minute we're like, hey, we're going to be talking about your wines tonight. Do you want to stop by? And she was like, yeah, why not? I'll stop by. It was so cool. So she is actually joining us in a few minutes.
That is amazing. You know, when a mom of 4 kids sings, say, yeah, why not? In the middle of the week, why not? It tells me that they really care about what they're doing.
Pretty amazing.
So, yeah, it's pretty amazing. So, Mira, you're a busy, busy lady today. You're running something in parallel, another event that you're doing in happy hour with. So we're going to be bouncing back and forth. But in your glass, you have a very special wine. You have a 2019 Moraine Winery Syrah that I gave a 93 points to, and also it won some pretty big award as well. So I hope you're enjoying that wine. And there's also a peachy Pinot Gris here in my glass as well. So yeah, enjoying Moraine Winery from the very famous Naramata Bench from BC, British Columbia. So all of you Canadian wine lovers, all the way back east, Montreal, Quebec City, Toronto, everywhere in the eastern provinces, good evening. We're going to chat about the diversity of the Naramata Bench. What is the bench exactly? For people back east who doesn't have the same understanding of the geography of the wine country here in British Columbia, the Naramata Bench is a very sought after sub-appellation, and Moraine Estate Winery is located right in the heart of the birthplace of winemaking in British Columbia. So, and I'm thrilled to host Amber Pratt, the winemaker at Moraine, who's going to join us in a second. Just after that, I say a quick little hi in French to our francophone wine club members. So, bonjour à tout le monde en français, partout au pays, dans toutes les régions francophones du pays. Un beau bonsoir, c'est mercredi, c'est le temps du happy hour. Un petit peu de français pour vous dire un beau bonjour ce soir. On reçoit un invité très spécial. On reçoit Amber Pratt, qui est la winemaker à Moraine Winery, qui est située sur le Naramata Bench en Colombie-Britannique, dans le cœur de la région des vins. Une sous-région qui est très spéciale en termes de sol, en termes de position, en termes aussi d'histoire de la viticulture canadienne. Donc, on va parler du line-up qu'on a, de la sélection de vins, du coffret de dégustation qu'on a, qu'on présente cette semaine avec Moraine. Une histoire fantastique du propriétaire, aussi de la winemaker, mais des vins absolument spectaculaires, en passant par le Pinot Gris, le Gewürztraminer, un rosé qui est fantastique, mais aussi la sélection des rouges, du Pinot Noir, la Syrah, qui a gagné des prix fantastiques en 2019, 93 points Carl's Wine Club. C'est des vins fantastique. On va parler de ça avec notre winemaker. Si vous êtes avec nous en français, laissez-nous un message dans la boîte à commentaires de où vous vous joignez à nous, c'est quoi qui est dans votre verre. Donc, un beau bonsoir à tout le monde. Je m'en vais de l'autre côté, je retourne en anglais pour dire un beau bonsoir et on va apporter Amber avec nous. Donc, Mira Boucher, je ne sais pas de quel bord que tu es, si tu es prêt. Oh, you're back with us. There you go. How's your wine?
It's great. Yes. I had a sip of both because I'm like that tonight. So, yeah, it's good. What I'm doing is I volunteer with I'm on a board, and we're doing an awards show tonight, and then I'm leading their wine happy hour after. So I better run. They're giving out the awards.
Well, how about I'm gonna bring Amber. Are you bringing Amber in, or am I doing that?
I'll bring Amber in right now, and I hope you guys have a blast. Thank you so much. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Thank you, Mira. There you go. So, good evening. Amber, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Carl. Nice to be here. Hello, wine lovers. Salut tout le monde. Nice to see everybody.
En français. Thank you so much.
Okay, and my daughter Georgia just can't resist a camera, so what can I say?
Amber, don't worry about that. This is my kid's favorite thing. Come and bump me by behind. Sometimes it's with a costume. So all of our members know, they know Deadpool, they know Spider-Man, they know them all. So every week there's a new character showing up. So you're more than welcome. So where are you joining us from, Amber, tonight?
I'm in Penticton. I live in Penticton since 2009. So it's really nice to be able to have such a nice short drive up to the Naramata Bench. I used to work in wineries down in Oliver, which was a much longer commute. But yeah, now I'm in the heart of the Okanagan in Penticton.
Absolutely. And Amber, before we start talking about the heart of the wine country, before we start talking about the bench, let's talk about you for 5 minutes, okay? Because I am fascinated. I've been reading about you in the last couple of weeks, and I'm fascinated about how you got to Moraine, how you got with Oleg and put all of these very special things together. But how about you tell us a little bit about how you got to the wine business? What drives you? What really passionate you about the wine business at the beginning?
Okay, well, I came from Victoria, from Vancouver Island, and I worked in the horticulture industry, so growing plants and landscape design and things like that. So I've always had a passion for, working outdoors and with nature and plants. And then, like so many people, I took a couple WSET classes just because I was interested in wine. It had always been a part of our kind of culture growing up. My mom's from Montreal, so
there you go. That's where the little French is coming from.
Yeah, so we always had a little bit of wine growing up, and it was just something I was always interested in. So I took a few WSET classes, and it just blew my mind. It was more, wine's not just red and white, it's so many different things. And so I took everything I could get my hands on that was available in Victoria, and then I started looking further afield, and I found the Okanagan College in Penticton. And so I moved here in 2009, and I studied the viticulture program and also the winemaking technology program here in Penticton. And then I just started working right away, and I got really lucky to work with some great winemakers. And it was like, you learn everything that's in the books, and then you start actually working in a winery, and it's completely different. And it's like,
and you realize that what you learned at school, it didn't apply at all.
yeah. You learn the rules in school, and then you learn how to break them properly.
Absolutely. How many people were in your class when you guys graduated? How many graduate on your year? Is there a big class there, or there's more smaller group of people?
It was like 20 people.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Because we have a very good group of people from out east, and people know a little bit more about the Niagara region. Yeah. And sometimes I'm just flabbergasted. I'm just get so impressed about the size. Everything back east, when we talk about winemaking, about land, about everything. It's always bigger out there, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Like it's funny because I was touring the Niagara in September last year and introducing to a bunch of producer, and they always start by, hi, oh, we own a very small little family estate winery here. We have 40 acres of land.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And the second person that I meet is like, hi, we have a very small family-owned winery. It's 65 acres. I'm like,
It's
and I
little.
always bring that back with my BC knowledge, and it's very, very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
So you did the Okanagan College down in Penticton, and you started to work down south, I believe,
Yeah.
in Oliver, the national capital, the wine capital of Canada. And so you
Self-proclaimed. Yeah.
exactly. And so you were there for what, 5, 6, 7 years down in Oliver?
8.
8 years.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about where did you work prior to that, and who was your biggest influence in your career until that point to today?
Mhm. Well, I got to work my first couple of vintages at Road 13 Winery, and that was when Michael Bartier was still the winemaker there, and he was
Okay.
really like a great first winemaker to have in that job because he was so generous with his knowledge. Like some people, I'm sure in any field, but especially winemakers, it seems are very closed and guarded with their knowledge. Like they don't want you to get better than them almost, so they keep their knowledge to themselves. But he's great, and he's a friend to this day. And actually it was funny, once I met my husband, like they were already friends and I had no idea. So yeah, so Michael Barchi at Road 13, and then I got to go over and work at Black Hills as the assistant winemaker there. And that was really nice because that's like no expense spared winemaking at the time. Like, so it was a great way to see like how super premium wines can be made.
So you
And
get
then,
your hand on which vintage of Nota Bene that you have your stamp on?
yeah, so I helped to bottle the 2010 and I helped to make 2011 and 2012. And the 2012 to me is like the best so far yet.
Oh, that's amazing. And after Black Hills, you went to CC Gens, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Yeah. So Chris Yench, he was an amazing wine grower, and I'd worked with his fruit already at the other wineries I had worked at. So I knew the quality of his fruit, and he was looking to not just be a grape grower anymore. He was building his own winery and he needed someone to be his winemaker. So that was my first sort of job as like the executive winemaker. And he actually had 40 acres of amazing grapes on the Golden Mile Bench. So, and that was the pioneering, designated viticultural area for BC, where they first started going through all the steps and really having to quantify and qualify, like, this is what makes this area special, this latitude, this longitude, this soil. If you're higher than this, or if you're lower than this, or more north or more south, no, you're not in the Golden Mile Bench. So it was the first area that had to go through all those steps and really delineate and define what it would take to have a special wine region in Canada, or in British Columbia anyways. So other regions now have been following sort of their template for that. So we have the Naramata Bench, the Similkameen, and other areas are following sort of the template that the Golden Mile Bench Association started.
Now I think Skaha got theirs recently, and now they're working on the Golden Mile slope.
Oh,
so everyone who were left out for the Golden Mile Bench now are fighting their own way into the Golden Mile slope.
Yeah,
I know that East Kelowna are right on the verge to get theirs as well. So I think that all of the BC like sub-region are trying to a little bit like copy what Ontario have done with Niagara. There's so many little small appellations.
Sure,
and I think it's really good for standardizing some little area and putting some sub-name on the map as well. So I'm really excited about the future of that. But with that experience, your first head winemaking job, I think there's a big highlight in your career with one very specific wine, and I would like you to tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so it was great because we were in Oliver, where the red wine varietals really thrive because it's definitely the hottest region. So we had the Bordeaux varietals of Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Malbec, but we also had this really interesting terraced area of Syrah that was like really southeast facing, and so these vines kind of all along a slope going down the terraces. And in 2013 we had a Syrah, and it won quite a prestigious award at Decanter Asia. It won best red wine in North America.
Wow, this is huge for a lady where is just absolutely starting his head winemaking career. While it's something pretty big.
Yeah.
And for me, when I'm doing my research, just kind of put your name on the map. And here you go. Amber Pratt, legend, was just started right there with a very famous, with a very important award. So wow, that's absolutely amazing. So you stayed down south until what, 2018, 2019, something like that?
Until 2016, and that's when I had my daughter, and then so I was out of the wine industry for a couple of years to have a couple more kids. And so in 2018, I started working at Moraine, working with Dwight Zick, the winemaker at the time, and was working on and off with Moraine for that time. And then I started this past summer officially for good. So working at Moraine, and that 2019 Syrah you have in your glass right now, I just tasted it with Toshi, our wine club sort of manager, yesterday, and wow, is it ever pretty. Like, I am just blown away by how beautiful it tastes, and it's so different from the Syrah of the South Okanagan. It just has so much florality, the violets and heliotrope and
the perfume. That's the perfume to me. It's almost okay. No, it's not opening a Côte Rôtie. It's complete. It's not the same, but there's that perfume out of that bench terroir that you don't get down south. It's very different. And it leads me to that question I was really dying to ask you. It's, what's the biggest difference working mostly with South fruit, mostly with the Golden Mile fruit compared to the Naramata Bench fruit? What's the biggest difference between the two?
Yeah, it is really interesting. And I was curious to see what the challenges would be as I moved from being so far south up to the Naramata Bench. We definitely grow some different varietals. We're not dealing with Cabernet Sauvignon. That's a fool's errand if you're growing Cab Sauv up in Naramata. But like every vintage working in Oliver, we were adding so much acid to the fruit, like as it was coming in, because the heat just destroys the natural acidity of the grape. And so if you want to have a balanced wine that has the ability to age and the ability to stay fresh and keep its color, you want to preserve as much natural acidity as you can. I have not bought a single bag of tartaric acid since I've been in Naramata. Like, acid, no problem. So it has that freshness that means they can age for a lot longer. They're bright, definitely more, they can be more on the tart side. So you actually have to work on managing, like, to reduce the acidity if you can, but you never have to worry about like overly low, high pHs or low acid levels. So there's that. The heat means we're also cropping probably our red varietals, like the Syrahs and the Bordeaux varietals, a lot lower, just to make sure we're getting that phenolic ripeness, that skin ripeness, because it is more borderline. But I think at that borderline of like success or failure is where you can really find that magical, like, spine tingling balance in a wine, like with that Syrah that you're tasting there. Like, it's just it's got the fruit and the body, but it's just got that beautiful like delicateness. It's
Well, what surprised me the most, and I was I've been tasting some hillside wine. Hillside, I said it was like half a kilometer from you guys. Like the from the Dickinson vineyard, and I have that often, like that beautiful bright ripe fruit, that ripe red fruit, but the minerality, that sometimes that gravelly minerality topped with that flowery notes. It's really typical of the Naramata Bench. So and it's really translated that in that
Mhm.
19 Syrah. Absolutely.
And that it's true what you're saying, like the minerality, because the soil is very different in Naramata versus down in the south. Like in the south, particularly like on the Black Sage Bench side, which is, so you're on the east side of the valley, but your vineyards are usually sloped to the west. It's so sandy. It's like pure sand. So you're practically doing hydroponic growing. You know, you have to water it almost a little bit every day because the water just goes straight through. And there's just not as much for the vines to pull from the soil. You know, that very light and sandy soil doesn't have much in terms of minerality. On the Golden Mile Bench, the soils were more, had a bit more clay to them, a bit more silty. But in Naramata, like it's really like you have those iconic kind of limestone bluffs that you see, like if you're down at the lakeshore looking up to Naramata, you see those crazy undulating bluffs that are like on every postcard of the Okanagan, right? Like, and that soil, it has so much more mineral and it's much more dense. And when you get the more mature vines, you know, and they go down and they bring those flavors up, they really do. So I
Absolutely.
really love that minerality, especially I'm drinking the Pinot Gris tonight. And
Right here. It's an orchard in the glass. I've rarely got, like, there's so much peach on the nose. And this bottle for me that's just 3 days old now, and I have to got another one, but like the peach just coming, and it's an orchard in the nose. I can smell
Mhm.
that wine
Mhm.
for hours
Yeah.
without getting bored. That can
Mhm.
be a summer favorite, definitely.
Yeah, and it was sunny here today and beautiful, and I just felt like I should drink a red wine for this chat, but I'm going to drink a white wine because it was sunny and I feel like I can't wait for summer to come. So, and I love in the Pinot Gris, it really expresses that minerality really nicely. And for me, like if I had to pick a European wine to drink, I would want a Chablis or a Sancerre because I love those mineral flavors that are coming out of those white wines from France. So I
And
like
that
the taste of wet stones and, you know, those kind of flavors.
and the bench totally have that have
Mhm.
that capacity to reflect that type of minerality. That's for sure. I
Mhm.
completely agree. Um,
Mhm.
so we have a great question here from Mike Laplante. Mike has a really cool YouTube channel. It's called the Average Wine Enthusiast, and he talks about really cool stuff. Mike is one of our member, and I know he came to visit last summer, and he met with Sal D'Angelo, and Sal is planting some Cabernet, more Cabernet on his estate nearby you. So uh, so yeah, Mike was just mentioning, oh, I think I heard the Sal planting some cab, but Sal doesn't do anything conventional anyway. So Mike, if regarding Sal, not it doesn't count. If Sal does it, it doesn't count.
Is he planting Cabernet Sauvignon or Cabernet Franc?
If he's planting some Cabernet Sauvignon, he's
Okay.
planting more, but he just planted some Abruzzo, some grape from the
Oh,
Abruzzo as well, and
cool.
more Cab and more Carmenere on the bench.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it,
interesting. Sorry, like Sal's place. So our owner, Oleg Aristakov, his actual home with his home vineyard is right across the street from Sal's winery. So our
yeah,
Pinot Noir grows right across from Sal's winery, and they're quite good friends actually. And his son in particular helps us out quite a bit with like our tractor repairs and stuff like that. So,
so
you know,
it's a small community, especially there on the bench. It's a really tightly knit community.
yeah.
That's for sure. Uh, I was talking to Toshi a couple of days ago, and she told me that quite of a story when I think it's Mr. Dickinson, a couple of years after Moraine was open,
Mm.
who walked into the tasting room and he was showing Toshi and Oleg the plot of Syrah that it's on your and saying that this specific vineyard right there is one of the top Syrah plantation in the whole British Columbia. And so why this very specific block of Syrah is so perfectly suited for what you guys do?
You know, Toshi was telling me that same story, and we're going to investigate it a little more because I want to find out if he knows what clone the Syrah is. There's sort of three main Syrah clones being grown around the Okanagan, but I'd like to talk to this fellow and see, like, you know, what clone is it, and like what did you notice that was special when you were planting it. It is very well situated. Like, we have a nice slope. We slope towards the lake to the east, or sorry, to the west. I always mix those up. And so we have really good airflow in our vineyard, and again, like, with the really good well drained soils, but with lots of sort of mineral and like holding capacity for water, so we don't have to water that often. And we have a nice aspect for the sun. Like, the rows are like this and the sun comes up and over like that, so the rows face north south, so they get maximizing the sun all day long. But yeah, I'd like to know a little more if we can find it out, and I'll get back to you on that, because
I would love to. I would love to. And so you got your hands on all the 2021 bottling. You were involved in that, so I had the privilege to taste the Gewurz, the Pink Mountain, the Pinot Gris. So these three are now out, just been released at the winery on February 1st. And I have a common theme that I tasted in the three wines is the explosion of flavor in the mid palate. And the Gewürztraminer, the Gewürz has 15 nines of residual sugar, but is very well balanced with the bright acidity. But how dense and how flavorful that Gewürztraminer is! Holy crap! It's something else.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it was a crazy year in terms of weather. Throughout the year, it was like a nail biter, but it was hot overall. It's like, so rainy, so cold, so hot, like, fires. You know, I just felt like
I know everything, right?
One thing after another. I was like, oh my God, are we gonna make it out alive? Like, but the heat that did come, like, wow, the Gewürztraminer, like, it's tricky because you want the grapes to ripen, so you get like really good flavor development, but as they ripen, the sugar's increasing. So when you go to make the wine, you're either going to ferment it dry and end up with a Gewürztraminer that's like 16% alcohol, or you're going to stop it at some point and you'll still have some sugar left, but the alcohol will be in balance. Gewürztraminer is kind of a notoriously low acid grape too, so
very tricky, right?
It can be oily and flabby sometimes. So I really feel like we just hit the balance so good with that grape, and it's intense. Like,
and the intensity in there.
It's not the wine I would reach for on a daily basis, but I think it's right up there with like the classic examples from like the Alsace region of France, you know, where like if you had the Pfaffenheim or Reserve Gewürztraminer, like it's classic. You
brought that texture into it also. It's more, it's not the drier Gewürz, more linear. No, it's textural. It's more, oh my God, yeah. It completely took me to the old world as well.
I think Gewürz is meant to have some of that lusciousness to it, because I think if you want a dry, bony wine, like Gewürztraminer is not your grape. Like, I think it's just meant to be a bit more viscous and have more texture. You know, it's such an interesting wine, and I can't wait to try pairing it with different things this summer, and kind of, lots of fresh herbs, I think, you know, and fruits and salads and grilled peaches in a salad, you know, that kind of thing.
You know what we did? I think we killed two birds with the same stone. We for the Pink Mountain and the Gewürz, we opened both bottle with a huge order of sushi. So we had the sushi. We had some spicy stuff in there. I had some raw fish in there, and these two wines together. With the sushi, it was a party. It was an absolute party. The pairing was fantastic because that Pink Mountain is pretty as well.
It's crazy. Like, I'm surprised there was any wine left to bottle, because it's like tasting it out of the tank. You know, it's like, I'm getting guavas. Like, oh, I need to taste again. Passion fruits. Oh, strawberries. Oh, rhubarb pie. Like two different varietals make up the rosé. They were blended, the juice was blended together, but then separated again into two tanks with two different strains of yeast, and each yeast strain really brought different characteristics to the wine. And it's good. Like the rosé
Yeah.
from Roche Winery, they're friends of ours, and like their rosé is always the one we get a case of every year, and I'm like, I want to make a rosé that I can, that is as good as that, and me and my husband want to drink like all summer like that. So I think we got pretty close with that. It's just it's chuggable. Like it's really good.
Oh yeah, it's quaffable, and the color. How did you get to that pink, almost phosphorescent color? I've like rarely. Is there the gamay to bring that part of color, or it's more like just the vintage specific? It makes it for something pretty unique.
Yeah, and I was glad it did like tone down a bit, and it got like a really pretty pale. Yeah, it got a little more pale with time, which I like. So that with the gamay, we picked it by hand, of course, crushed it, and then we let it sit in the press, for almost a day, so that the juice could extract the color from the skins. And then we pressed it. So that was where the deep color came from, was from the gamay. And with the Pinot Noir, like we got it in, whole bunch pressed, so the juice came out almost colorless, and then they were blended together. So it was nice.
Okay, so there's no bleed. It's not a bleed. It's both. It's press both, a little bit more the old school way than the bleeding method.
Gamay Noir and Pinot Noir.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's like 73-27 for the ratio for both of them. If I read my, that's awesome, because Mike was asking here. So great stuff. Great stuff. I know that you're a busy woman. You have more kids than I have, so I don't want to keep you too long. Okay, come on. I can do that for hours. I can keep you sitting there for hours, and we can chat for a very long time. So I don't want to do that to you. I greatly appreciate your time, Amber. I would like to spend a little bit of time with you at the winery as well, so I want to increase my knowledge of what you do, because everything that I tasted was all 90 points plus. Everything is such a beautiful reflection of the bench. And I'm excited to see what you're going to bring after the Dwight Six era. Now it's Amber Pratt era. So I'm really excited to see what's coming out. But 2021 is really promising. So I'm super excited. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. And I look forward to seeing all you and your wine club members when we do our big tasting in March.
Yes. Perfect. Amber, I wish you a great evening, and we'll chat soon, okay?
Sounds good. Cheers.
Okay. Cheers to you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
There you go, guys. It was Amber Pratt, winemaker at Moraine Winery, our feature winery this week. Moraine, like you guys heard, located on the very famous Naramata Bench. Sorry. Some cool stuff, really cool stuff coming out of Moraine. Some estate fruit, mostly like 90% Naramata Bench fruit. They're sourcing some cute, like very small quantity across the lake from Summerland, but mostly from the bench. And like you guys heard from Amber, the minerality, the terroir, the soil, the influence of the lake on these vineyards brings something very specific, something very unique to the wines, to the grapes from the bench. So some pretty cool stuff. People who like the big reds, these red, the Meritage, the Syrah, the Cap Franc. We didn't talk about the Cap Franc. We just didn't run out of time, but the Cap Franc have that burst of minerality as well. So for people who are seeking big red, these wines are full body. These wines are grippy. I like what I've tasted from the Meritage. There's There's some Bordeaux component in there because of the minerality, because of usage of oak. Yeah, really interesting stuff. You guys know my passion for Chardonnay. I didn't even have time to touch the Chardonnay conversation with Amber because that's something I'm going to approach her personally. I want to know what's her vision. What's her vision about the vessels? What's her perspective on oak and all of that? But yeah, blessed enough to be at what, half an hour, 45 minutes from the winery, so I can swing by anytime and chat wine with Amber. What a great conversation that we had here. So while we're here, now, Mira is busy on the other side running another event, a happy hour with a group of private school. So let's talk about, first and foremost, let's review the whole Moraine lineup. What we are offering this week is we have the Gewürztraminer, the Pinot Gris, and the Rosé as our three white and but two white and the Rosé. We just talked about these wines with Amber, so this is 2021 vintage, just released. We're the first one outside of the tasting room who had the privilege to have to offer our members, right, a little snapshot of the crazy 2021 vintage. But just like we mentioned with Amber, the Gewürztraminer has a concentration, a little sweetness at 15.9 off dry, but like often you can expect with Gewürztraminer, great texture, but an explosion of flavor in terms of lychee, rose petal, tropical fruit, also some pear, some peach. Oh, this is just juicy in the burst of minerality. Great balance in that wine. Like I was mentioning with Amber, like sushi, that was perfect. So that's the Gewürz, an explosion of fruit. And if you like a little tad of sweetness in the wine, this is absolutely perfect for you. Served chilled, to my opinion, will keep that beautiful balance. So yeah, the rosé is really unique. Pinot Noir Gamay, also just a hint of sweetness, but nothing like cotton candy side. It is like more sour cherry, a little bit of raspberry jam into that, but there's a savory note, some beautiful fresh herbs on the mid palate to bring some brightness, a little bit of mint as well. So yeah, complexity in that rosé is fantastic. This is a great table, a great friend for the table for many different type of dish. So the Pink Mountain Rosé, a big thumb up. I gave it a 90 point, if I'm not mistaken. I printed some notes tonight, just to make sure I'm not messing up the score that I gave to these wines. But with the Pink Mountain, yeah, I give it a 90 points. And the Pinot Gris, another 90 points. Like I mentioned to Amber, it's orchard in the glass, peach, white peach, just bursting out. There's a bright minerality, just like Amber was mentioning. So a great summer wine. That can be a real summer favorite. Moving on to the reds, the Cap Franc that I tasted during Cap Franc Day. That's why I got pretty impressed, and I wanted to know more about Moraine, and I wanted to feature their wine because right out of the bottling line, that Cabernet Franc for Cabernet Franc, they really oh, there you go. So maybe Mira, if Mira is listening to me, maybe she can help me to put the Moraine link. Sorry, I just hit my my camera here. There you go. Yeah, so if Mira is listening, Mira, maybe you can help me to put the link of Moraine right up here. So there you go. That darn thing just fell off. So yeah, the Cap Franc pretty impressed me right out of the gate, and I wanted to know more. And when I went to the winery, we did the full-on tasting. Now I had the chance to taste the Syrah and learn more about Amber and Dwightsick and how is the approach of their Syrah. This is a 96, or I think 94, 96% Syrah co-fermented with a tad of Viognier. It came out in the glass. This is a 2019 vintage. And like we mentioned a couple of times earlier the last couple of weeks, 2019 is showing pretty darn good. The 19 vintage from pretty much all the reds that we got so far is just shining. And that Syrah is just at the baby stage right now. It will last for a good 10 years, but right now it's so perfumed, violet, some blue fruits, just like absolutely like coat your mouth with a nice texture. So 93 points, Carl's Wine Club. I love that syrup. A little bit more old world style than the bigger, heavier, spicier. That's what we found from the Golden Miles, more on minerality. So really, really interesting. It was pretty darn good. Meritage, 91 points. I like that little Bordeaux in the bottle. It's totally like a baby Bordeaux. That would kick the shit out of these Bordeaux Supérieur or Côte de Bourg or so these $20, $25 Bordeaux. This is no contest with that Meritage from Moraine. That's that gravelly, this blackberry, a little bit of cassis, savory notes. Great. Right now, that's a great tannin in there. And I like these young wines when they're not aggressive, but full of energy and grab me. And I get that snappy tannin. I really enjoy that. And that's what that Meritage provided me. There's a nice spice in the back end as well. So really, really fun. And listening to and reading comments about the brand on online when I asked for our members' opinion, the Pinot Noir came up more often than any other wine in the lineup. Oh, I like Moraine for their Pinot and this and that. And Amber was just mentioning the Pinot Noir vineyard down the road from the winery near Sald'Angelo's winery on the Naramata Bench. Beautiful spot near the water. And yeah, I like that richness of the Pinot Noir. I like the red fruits, the strawberry, more like I would say stewed strawberries with beautiful spice. Not peppery spicy, but more of the clove, cinnamon, light cocoa as well. So really, really interesting, really fun Pinot Noir to drink. So a great lineup, a buttery Chardonnay. And that's funny because the first nose that we have, Mira look at me and say, oh my God, it smells like buttered popcorn. And from that on, I just couldn't get rid of that smell every time that I smell that Chardonnay. But yeah, a fun, good Chardonnay as a bonus offer as well. So absolutely fun lineup, solid across the board, all 90 point plus. And if you have the chance to travel this summer throughout the Okanagan and you do a stop on the Naramata Bench, the Moraine wine, they have, I would say, probably 15 to 17 different SKUs. I had to pick, like we wanted to build that well-rounded. I tried to keep it all over 90 points when I taste the wine. And yeah, I settled on these 8 wines. And now we are really, really happy with the selection. Really spectacular. A good a flash of the Naramata Bench, the potential, the long-term, the immediate also enjoyment of the bench with that 2021 release that it's really fun to taste with the Gewurz, the pink mountain rosé, and the Pinot Gris. That Pinot Gris will be a summer favorite, that's for sure. So yeah, here we are for Moraine here on Carl's Wine Club feature of the week. Next week we're taking a break, no feature, but we're not taking a break. We're not going to be sitting on our laurels here because there's something pretty cool happening next week. It is International Syrah Day next Wednesday. So next Wednesday Wine Happy Hour is going to be starting at 4 p.m. Pacific, so 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to go for 5 hours and maybe plus. I have a lineup of 30 Syrahs. 30 Syrahs from all over the country, plus some international. There's some stuff popping in here like Montboucherie Reserve, the whole Rust lineup. Times, Moraine is going to be part of it. We're going back to Tinhorn for different vintages. What else? From back east, I talked with Derek Barnett at Melville. Just waiting to come from Casaba's wines are on their way. Who else from Ontario? Oh, our friend Adnan Eisel at Ice Cellar shipped some stuff over 2 vintages of Ice Cellar Syrahs. So like we have an incredible lineup. We have Vanessa's Vineyard on the way. Lakeside Cellar already shipped their stuff. Hillside, Red Rooster, Syrah. There we have an incredible lineup to present you. We're going to taste that for 5 hours for International Syrah Day. I have a bunch of guests. Jeff Undermark from Montboucherie. We have Ryan DeWitt from Ross, who's going to join us live. Ezra Sipes, owner and CEO of Summerhill, where we have the 2016 Spadefoot Toad in the lineup as well. So yeah, an incredible lineup of Syrah. Mira and I are going on the road on Friday to pick up all of these beautiful Syrah, Stag's Hollow as well, Black Market Wine Company, Black Hills Estate, Desert Hills. So we have a crap load of Syrah to taste next Wednesday for International Syrah Day. So it's going to be a blast. I am really excited for that. So that's the next varietal day. Following that, it's going to be Riesling Day. I think we're talking about in March, I believe, or April. But focusing next week on International Syrah Day, it's going to be absolutely amazing. After the Syrah week, and we'll see. We might put a pack together, maybe a few of our close friends or people if they want to buy a couple. Anyway, we'll see what we can do about that. A little surprise for Syrah Day. After that, Riverstone Winery. Riverstone from Oliver, BC. We're going to do a beautiful 6-pack, including 2 rosés, a Malbec and a Syrah rosé, and their 2 classic Cornerstone and Stone Throw Bordeaux Meritage blend. Sauvignon Blanc was absolutely spectacular. So the week after Syrah Day, we're going with right back down south in Oliver on the Golden Mile to do Riverstone Estate Winery. So that's what's coming up in the next few weeks. What else do we have to touch on? Yeah, so our trip this week down south is going to be pretty cool. Last week, I went to Montboucherie. Oh, by the way, I need to tell you that because this rosé here, that's the new 2021, just came out this week. Zweigel, a good chunk of Zweigel in there with Gamay and Pinot Noir. I tasted that yesterday at the tasting room at Montboucherie, and this has the potential to be another summer favorite. I'm not sure here, but the The weather is warming up around here in Kelowna, on the west side of Kelowna, and it's just like give me that summer hype. And I'm getting pretty excited of what's the spring and the early summer is going to give us, because we have some pretty cool stuff in the pipeline here. Talking with Derek Barnett the last couple of days out east got me pretty excited with what he's doing at Melville Winery. Speaking of Ontario, we pretty much all hear what happened last week after that we had our chat with Alison Finley last Tuesday with Flat Rock Cellar, the tragic death of Paul Pander, Alison's husband. So it absolutely crushed the Canadian wine industry. Emotionally, it was a big hit for all of us to learn that. I did not know Paul personally, but being with Alison for an hour-long interview a couple of days prior, it's just like there's a weird feeling all week. But I just want to mention here from Mira and I and our family, to Paul's family and Alison especially, is to our deepest condolence and a crazy nuts story. So yeah, I really wanted to take 2 minutes here to mention that, because it's really important. That Canadian wine industry is a very tightly knit community. We all know each other, and yeah, that was a big bomb last week. So not in a good sense. So life is pretty crazy, and that one hit pretty much everyone that I know in the wine industry. So yeah. So back at some of our highlight in the last couple of weeks, we also tasted some new stuff. Last week we had a pretty cool launch at Times Winery. Speaking about Times Winery, look at what I think Mira already showed it last week, but yeah, look at that little baby here. So that's the new member of our wine family here. The big boy, the big 3 liters of Times, but we tasted some pretty cool stuff. We're going to revamp some stuff on Carl's Cellar. Black market offer is going to change a little bit because they're running out of stuff and putting some new stuff out. Times Winery, we're going to revamp the whole thing. I've been talking with Carolyn Hurst at Westcott. We're going to do a Pinot Noir terroir tasting live very soon. So that is pretty exciting with Westcott. So all of our partners with Carl Cellar, we are revamping the whole thing. And yeah, so I'm bringing you some new stuff. Some new release are also coming out pretty soon. We're also going to feature some new stuff from Church and States down south and their line Lost Inhibition. So this is some cool stuff coming up. What else do we have new? A lot of stuff coming up. So here, James Idout is saying, thank you for that pink diamond. Yes, absolutely, James. And let me know if you have tasted something pretty cool lately. I want to know what you tasted. I want to know what it's coming up for you, if you have some cool stuff in the cellar that you're planning to crack. Seeing here that Mike Laplante, the average wine enthusiast, is on. We have a winery here nearby you on the Erie Lakeshore appellation here, Lake Erie appellation. Mouchadre Winery. The box is on the way. We're gonna have the Syrah for Syrah Day next week, but also the full lineup because we're planning an offer with the family there. So it's gonna be pretty cool to taste the Nebbiolo coming in, the Barbera Cabernet. They're the only one to do that crazy kind of thing. So I am really thrilled to taste what Mouchadre has to offer. So that is pretty cool. Really interesting. And a big shout out to you, Mike, for first just sending over the Meritage blend that you sent us a year ago. And also to talk to Melissa at the winery. She reached out and now we're putting stuff together. Also a pretty cool story here that happened this morning. So I sent an email to Vanessa's Vineyard because I know that Howard Soon, one of the legend of winemaking in Canada, he used to be with Sandhill. He was one of the first to do these small batch wine 20 over 20 years ago. And anyway, Howard went on its own with Vanessa Vineyard when they opened 10 years ago. And very small production, but like they're almost becoming iconic. They're becoming like this is like very small production. There's a waiting list for their wine club. There's barely no inventory of their wines anywhere to find. It's really rare. So I reached out and wanted the Syrah, and they confirmed, yes, we can send you a Syrah. And I got a phone call this morning from the wife of the owner and say, hey, Carl, thank you so much for reaching out. We were happy to send you a Syrah, but we don't have enough wine to feature into your club just yet. But we so appreciate your email. We're really interested. And now we're on the back burner with Vanessa. But just for me, it was just the action coming from the top, coming from the wife of the owner, just getting the phone call and spending 15 minutes on the phone just to talk about what's coming up at Vanessa. They're increasing their portfolio. They're increasing their production. They're following us from afar, and they know about what we do. That is really, really cool. But for them to take the time to give us a call and just reaching out, and she's sending some samples for us to taste as well. It was pretty cool. So, sometimes you wonder why a certain brand, a certain brand get where they're at a very, very high level. Yes, the winemaker, is a genius. He's one of the best in the business. But their attention to detail, how they picture themselves in front of all of the industry, it's something pretty impressive too. And like getting that phone call this morning was really, really interesting. So yeah, it's down the road. Maybe by the fall, maybe next year. But Vanessa, we had a great conversation. These wines are off the charts. So I can't wait for Syrah Day and open. I'm not sure which vintage she's going to send, but we're going to have that one of the Vanessa Syrah into our lineup for International Syrah Day next Wednesday. One more thing that I want to talk about before I let you guys go. It's about tomorrow. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be sitting down. We're going to do a Cellar Confidential with Sandra Oldfield, former owner of Tin Horn Creek Winery. Sandra started Tin Horn with Ken Oldfield in 1995, if I'm not mistaken. I need to review my old notes to be ready for that interview tomorrow. But this is not small peanuts, because now, I've been talking with a lot of different people in the wine industry, but tomorrow being sitting down with Sandra Oldfield. She's one of the founder of the British Columbia wine industry, with now talking with the Harry McWater of the world, and all of these that first generation who opened all of these known wineries now, who have been purchased by other at that point, and now the industry has evolved so much. But our wine industry would not have been where they are at that point without the vision of the Sandra Oldfield, without the vision of people like that. So tomorrow I'm going to be, I'm actually getting a little bit nervous about the whole thing, to have Sandra for a Cellar Confidential for an hour conversation tomorrow. So it's pretty cool. So tune in. It's going to be 6:00 Pacific, so 9:00 Eastern time zone, Cellar Confidential with Sandra Oldfield. Mike LaPlante here is sipping on a 2019 Cab Franc from the Tin Horn Creek offer a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, it's going to be really, really fun tomorrow night. Can't wait. So yeah, here we are, an hour in. We're gonna let you go. Mira's busy on the other side. So this week until tomorrow, 10 p.m. This is Moraine Estate Winery's featuring 8 amazing wines from Moraine, located on the beautiful Naramata Bench. Pinot Noir, Cap Franc, Syrah, Meritage, Gewurz, Rosé, Pinot Gris, and also Chardonnay. 8 different options here. You like white, you can custom your own mix. You can, you want to focus on the red. There's 3 big reds, 1 medium body red. So this is very well-rounded. So we are excited for these wines from the bench. But this is until tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Next week, no offer. International Syrah Day. It's going to be a lot of fun. Join us tomorrow night for Cellar Confidential at 6 p.m. Pacific with Sandra Oldfield. So, on that note, Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, I wish you a great evening. Cheers, and see you next time.